Change comes with challenge. My name is Mirthell.
And I'm Rita. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about fear of flying, which is really, really big for a lot of people.
And how you were able to get over it.
Yes, which is amazing. It's amazing.
Right.
But before that, we're going to talk about a couple of other things that are going on.
Well,
if you look at him, you'll see...
More importantly...
Well, for those who...
The most important topic.
Well, for those who can't see, if you're listening like on Spotify or iTunes...
Oh, yeah. I am in full Raptor regalia.
Full.
Okay, I might as well be on the team playing on the court.
Though, but this is like the retro one. The bright purple... A little cheesy dinosaur.
It's the only one that the girls could find. I mean, after the Raptors won, or even coming up to the grand finale, you could not find Raptor gear anywhere in all of Ontario. Like we were traveling in, we couldn't find it even in the surrounding states, which usually you'd be able to find something. Right. Everything was gone. My daughters, on the night before the win, they were able to find one Raptors jersey, and it was Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady's good, like he was good, but it's retro and it's a purple. It's a purple one, and I just had to deal with it. You know.
So let's let's back up. So we've been gone for a while because we've been on vacation. I turned the big 4-0, which I always praise God that I had another year of life. I thank God for that. And so we decided, because Mirthell had to perform a wedding in Toronto, one of his friends from childhood,
right?
That we were going to combine a 40th trip, and then the next week would be the wedding. So what we did was we left end of May, and we went to New York City for a couple of days. Then we took a cruise to Bermuda, and then after that week-long cruise, we went into Toronto, and then from there
we went back to New York.
We were there for the game, and you did your wedding, and then we flew back from New York back to LA.
Right. So that was a lot of flying for Rita. And
right.
We're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that. But for me, like turning 40, like I said, it was a milestone. Mirthell convinced me I should do this. Now, I really did not necessarily want to go, but I knew I wanted to go to Toronto. The kids also had friends that they were going to see. Right. We were going to see, Mirthell's mom, because this is, Toronto's where he's from. So I knew that, man, I really should do this. Everything is lining up perfectly. We got a beautiful, beautiful suite on the cruise ship. And I thought, okay, let me just do this. So again, we're going to get into the flying part later. But we did come in. And our first night, we were at the Plaza.
Oh, yeah. The
Plaza was beautiful. It was beautiful. But it's expensive.
Right.
And I mean, the only reason that I feel it's expensive is just location. Yes, we had a big suite. But still, this is just like, wow. That's ridiculous, because when we had a presidential suite at the Marriott in Toronto, it was nowhere near the price of just one night at the Plaza.
One night at the Plaza, I would say was about...
Well, I don't want to talk about price.
It was like,
It was a lot.
It was like several times.
Right, and we were there a couple of days. We were there 2 nights.
And it wasn't even as big.
Wait, 1 night, 2 nights. Yeah, we were there 2 nights. And it wasn't as big.
It wasn't even as big.
No. But we had a wonderful time there because, of course, those who know, the Plaza is right off of Central Park.
So we had to go get some pizza because, we're on vacation and I'm just like, ooh, yeah, New York pizza.
Yeah.
You always hear about New York pizza.
Right.
I've actually tasted some really good New York pizza. So I was just like looking forward to some New York pizza.
But, coming from outside of New York City, because I'm not from New York, I'm from Los Angeles. I always feel, because of all the movies that I watched, especially in the 80s, that on every corner you're going to find, like, New York pizza.
Hey, what do you know?
Yeah.
It's a pizza.
Well, oh my goodness.
No?
You sound like Mario. I don't think, like, from Nintendo. Okay. But
sorry
honestly,
about that. To all my Italian friends, I apologize. Please forgive me.
Honestly, I thought it would be, like, on every corner. But it's really not. Like, I thought they literally sold it, like, on the corner. So we'd have to... So I go, of course, in Yelp and Uber, and I'm looking for and Uber Eats, and I'm looking for the best, pizza. Mm-hmm. And I think we were tired by that point, because didn't we?
We had went to the museum, and then we had went on like some carriage rides inside the park. Yeah, we went
to the carriage ride.
So we didn't want to go looking for food. We just kind of wanted to just be inside.
But before we get to that, we did do that carriage ride in Central Park, and I got to tell you guys, the park smells.
Well, if horses are through the whole thing, then what else?
Yeah, it smells like animal. That's the thing. It's not like it smells like garbage or anything. It smells like animal. And you have to feel like it's good that it does. You know, be one with the earth again. Just, you know, just really get in there. Like,
I mean, we put the concrete in the ground in that park. That park was supposed to be full of animals with grass and dirt.
I mean, well, that's how all of New York looked before.
Right.
All the concrete jungle around it.
Can you imagine, like, all those buildings, all that concrete, and the whole of New York actually look like Central Park? That's amazing.
It is. It really is.
Because Central Park is beautiful.
You know,
it's nice greenery.
And it's been so established with skyscrapers that you almost think that the skyscrapers grew up out of the ground.
Right. Like trees?
Yeah.
We need to plant more skyscrapers.
Exactly. The skyscrapers are crazy. I cannot even fathom how someone would want to live on the 100th floor of something. Or, I mean, we saw
so those that
some
know
penthouses
Rita
that are
has
so tall.
Fear of heights as well.
No, I don't have
fear of heights. That's true. Elevators.
I get claustrophobic.
It's the elevators, yeah.
I don't have fear of heights. And if I'm in an elevator where I can see out, I'm cool. Or if I really get to know that elevator, for example, at our house in the South, we have an elevator in it, and I take it all the time when I'm going like to the third floor.
Yeah, but you
second
can't see
floor
out
too.
of it. Well, now you can.
No, I can't see out of it because there's a door. But I was very comfortable in it because I got to know it. That's all I'm saying. So
you got
I have to
know
get to
the
know
elevator.
my elevator,
right?
Or I have to be able to see out.
Involved with the elevator, you know, like
listen.
Hi elevator.
Elevators sometimes have an
Rita.
attitude. Like I've been on an elevator that had an attitude. I pressed 3 and it decided it was going to skip 3. So after that, I was like, oh,
so you just don't like it because it doesn't listen to you.
You can choose whether you want to stop on a floor.
Rita likes to always have control, and that's the thing. Like,
that's
elevator can't have a mind of its own.
No, it can't. And so, and so I'm distrustful. I'm distrustful of some things where I feel like, hold on, I press 3, and you want to skip to 4. So what happens is now, and I fight it. I don't do this, but I usually want to now put. Not just the floor I want. I really have this feeling like I should put the floor right above it just in case.
Yeah, that won't
so it
work.
Doesn't take me all the way somewhere else.
That won't. Let me just clarify. That won't work.
I know it's
You will
crazy.
constantly, maybe one temperamental elevator. Don't let that ruin the relationship with all elevators. Okay.
No, but where the fear started.
You press the floor above the one that you want. 9 times out of 10, you're going above the one you want, okay?
No, but I would press the one I want and the one above it.
Oh, gotcha.
So in case it skipped it, I would at least be up right there.
Forget that person that needs to pee that is waiting for that elevator.
Forget that. No, but where it started was that, I mean, we're all over the place today, but I was going to tell you where it started. Because being from LA, we always have earthquakes, obviously.
Right.
So one day I was watching Earthquake. I think it was just called, the big one. I can't remember what it's called. It was like an 80s movie, but it was about the big one in LA. And one day I was watching it and I saw this mother and daughter. I think it was a mother and daughter. They were stuck in an elevator. And the elevator had fallen for a bit and then they were stuck. And then when they came to rescue them, they were able to pull like the daughter out. And then there was an aftershock and the elevator fell. And so after that I was like, oh no. Oh my goodness, this can happen. And I was obviously very young.
Until you spoke to like your engineering friends and they let you know that elevators do not fall. They actually go up.
Well, you know what? There have been some cases where it did fall. We had a friend, hun. Remember our friend that was telling us the elevator fell? Remember he was in there? The one that came down from Oregon?
That must be like a seriously old elevator that was designed completely different because what they say is that if any of the cables break, it actually goes up.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
Tell that to a friend, though. But also, then the next thing that scared me was my uncle was talking to my grandmother one day, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna hang up because I was like, so and so's on the phone, and I was supposed to like hang up when my grandmother got on. But as I'm hanging up, I hear stuck in the elevator, and I was like, what? So I raised it back up, and I'm like, just listening, like. And he was like, yeah, I was stuck in the elevator for a few hours today, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, I see. So they can fall, you can get stuck. I was like, no, I don't like it. But if I was to even go further back, I was always claustrophobic, though. And I don't really know where this started. Because in our class, in like 2nd and 3rd grade, we used to have the bathrooms inside the room. And they looked like little closets. And I used to sneak out of class so that I can go to the regular bathroom where it was spacious. So clearly I had an issue with claustrophobia. Right. I'm not that bad now, but I don't like the feeling of being trapped in an elevator because I can't just walk off. So that's going to actually play a part with what we're talking about with flying. But
right. So if anybody is like, fear of elevators, maybe Rita can do something for you too. So how about crowds? Because you don't like crowds either. Because after Toronto won, you didn't want to go in crowds. It's like, are you claustrophobic in crowds?
No,
okay.
Not at all.
All right. Because I just needed to segue into the real topic, which is after Toronto Raptors won.
No.
Because that's what I'm talking
We're talking about the plaza. So the plaza was beautiful.
Oh boy.
Plaza was beautiful.
We're keeping the people in suspense.
Anyway,
just like game 6 when they kept us in suspense after the last couple seconds and we're about to win.
Oh, okay.
But,
so anyway, we went on the cruise. We have to talk about Bermuda. Bermuda was beautiful.
And then afterwards, folks, we will get into the Raptors.
Bermuda was beautiful, guys. I encourage
it really was beautiful.
I don't work for the tourism department, but I really encourage anyone listening to go to Bermuda. The beaches are amazing.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. Amazing. Like, I wasn't sure how this trip was going to go because we looked at the forecast.
Yeah, we thought it was going to rain
the whole entire time.
But it didn't.
And then I'm looking at it like, so I was thinking maybe I could go to Jamaica because I love Jamaican food. And I never really heard about Bermudan food per se. Like, I never heard like a special dish of Bermuda or whatever. I know that they have probably their own meals, but I wasn't familiar with it. So I was just like, oh, so probably it's going to be just like American maybe or whatever. So I'm thinking like...
Why would it be American? They're Bermudan. It's not even an American colony. It was a British colony.
I understand. I just figured that... I was just thinking to myself that it's a possibility that they're going to borrow from American culture or they're going to borrow from maybe British culture.
Why wouldn't
maybe
they borrow from Caribbean culture? They're an island.
They're an island, but they're not so
They're not
closely,
like down. I know they're not.
They're
down
not so
in the
closely
Caribbean.
associated, with the Caribbean. So I was thinking, that it was probably.
But boy, let me tell you,
we
were taken aback.
Whoa.
The food was amazing.
It was delicious. The
let me
fish.
tell you, almost everybody on that island loves reggae. They are a very Caribbean.
Right. They're very Caribbean.
Very Caribbean island. Yeah. But anyway, the food was amazing. The fish was so fresh. Any type of fish we had, salmon, tilapia, red snapper, anything. It was amazing. From different restaurants. It was always good.
It was always
seasoned just like to perfection.
Right. And it was
so good.
It was grilled. So like the ones that
I
really
grilled,
loved.
I had fried.
We had different flavors and all of them was
amazing.
Just really good. We enjoyed ourselves.
Let me tell you, the beach was amazing. The sand was so soft.
Right.
The water was like an aqua green,
then a little bit of tinted of dark blue.
Yeah.
Like
and
light
what we
blue.
like is it's safe too. You don't have to
Very
be like,
safe.
I can't get out of the resort. No, you go on there, you can just explore the whole island.
Right.
Now we actually happen to have several friends.
Right. So we went to go and see our friends
that live in Bermuda, so we were able to just really just relax and just enjoy ourselves. And the great thing about the cruise is that when you go there, it docks. And then you can actually
go back to
be
your
there
room
for like a few days. I think for us, we want to fly over there and so that we can stay for like a good week.
And just stay inside the hotel. But even like the taxi drivers, it wasn't overbearing. Like, you know how sometimes you'll go to some of the islands and they'll be really overbearing and they'll be overworking for extra money or giving a sob story or whatever. But they're just very mild-mannered natives.
And speaking about our taxi driver, we were telling, they always ask, so what do you guys do? And we always say, oh, we're YouTubers. And anyway, it came down to this, our taxi driver's daughter
and son were
watched
fans.
our videos and they were fans. And we were able to go to their school where they actually got a group of fans from the school. And we were able to talk to them, take pictures.
It was really cool.
It was really nice.
It was a really nice time.
But yeah, Bermuda was amazing. I highly, highly suggest going there.
And so with Bermuda, we were going to be leaving and coming back on the Monday. So I had to drive really, really, consistent.
No, so what we did was we came back
to the Raptors game.
No, we came back on Sunday.
Oh my goodness!
And what
I'll
we
never
did
be able
was
to tell you what happened to the Raptors.
We stayed at the Ritz for the Sunday night. Now staying at the Ritz was beautiful.
Ritz was beautiful.
Again, so expensive. I mean, we were waiting for our rooms to be finished, and we had breakfast. And I couldn't believe it. We just had a regular breakfast.
I think I just had eggs and just like a croissant
and it was
or
like
something.
Hundreds of dollars.
Right.
Hundreds. Just for that little breakfast. It was 6 people, but still. It was a lot.
But each one of us only had 2 items. I think Shasha only had a fruit bowl and
I had eggs and a
yogurt.
croissant.
You had eggs and a croissant. I think Sinead had the same thing that you had.
Mm-hmm.
I had some potatoes with some oatmeal. Or something like that, and Shiloh had 2 pancakes or something.
It was
it was ridiculous. something where if you went to Denny's, it would have been maybe $20. I doubt it. This is
something that also bothers me about our stay in New York. Again, this goes back to the elevators. Why are the elevators so small? If you notice, the elevators are just small. I'm used to okay, let me at least have some space here.
No, but it seemed as though these were the elevators from back in the 1900s.
It was so. But even how
they hadn't even changed the elevator.
Were skinnier back then, but even though they were skinnier, they had bigger outfits. So how did women with all those skirts and things go on these elevators? They're tiny.
Then wasn't there elevator men back in those days?
Right.
Where,
so now you had to have that
the
person
elevator
on there.
man, and then all those shows, I always thought that there was several people in there, but I guess
I decided
apparently not.
I was gonna walk down when we were leaving, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk down, and because they had told me, yeah, you can walk down. Well, I walked down, and somehow I ended up in the employee part of the Ritz. I was lost.
Oh, are you serious? I didn't hear this story. So what happened?
I was lost, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be back here. And finally, I had to tap someone. Trust me, a room full of people. Oh my goodness.
That's just.
No, you're not.
That's just. I just preparing them. That's Kawhi's laugh. He got the last laugh.
No, you did not.
He got the last laugh.
Anyway, when
they won,
I tapped someone on the shoulder. A room full of people looked at me like, "What are you doing back here?" So they had to take me, I don't know, through this door so I could be over there. I was like, I should have just done the elevator. So then we drove.
Which one do you prefer, my laugh or Kawhi's?
Oh my goodness, will you be jealous if I say Kawhi's?
No, I am very secure in my laughter.
So, oh my goodness. So we drove from New York into Toronto. We stopped in Buffalo looking for some Raptors stuff, but you didn't see any there. So then we got into Toronto, and then the night was game 5, right?
Is it my turn?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So, guys, first of all, I'm
just kidding. Go ahead.
This season was amazing, first of all. In fact, I knew it. I just knew that it would happen this way. The only difference between my predictions and what actually happened was that I predicted that it would go to Game 7. I really thought that it would go to Game 7.
We had tickets for Game 7.
We did have tickets for Game 7.
They were so expensive, so I was so happy.
First of all, this is a Lakers fan, okay? Born and raised in California. And I was like, nah, I'm going to Game 7, and y'all are coming with me. We're buying tickets. Now, everybody knows they were, shooting up the prices for all the tickets and everything like that. But, I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I never thought that I would see Rita so into the Raptors game. I mean, Rita was really into it. Game 5, Rita was everything but swearing. Curse words, okay?
You know
when
why?
they weren't winning.
Right. Well, because I was mad. I really wanted that refund on the ticket.
It was all about the money.
It was all about the money.
But you know what? Gentlemen, if you want your wife to watch a sports game with you, buy some really expensive tickets. She'll be really in it. She was in it to win it.
No, you have to buy it for a Game 7 or something. Now we'll really be into it, trying to please win. Yeah, so it was an interesting game though.
The whole series was really good.
It was so close that it was sad. I feel like all of Canada was ready. They were poised to celebrate.
Game 5, they were ready. Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is it. This is our moment.
But we got to take it. But we got to take it back. We got to take it back to Orlando. See, Orlando, everybody knew in the first round of the playoffs, every team that was playing in the first round, we already knew that the first, second, third, and fourth place was a lock. And that they were all going to just take the games. And they basically did. Nobody really struggled in the first round, and it was all just regular. But the second round of the playoffs, when they were playing Embiid and the 76ers, that was nail-biting tight. It went down to Game 7. And I would say that by far, this was the sweetest victory, the best game in the entire series. And I would venture to say that it was probably one of the best Game 7 buzzer beaters in all of NBA history.
I never saw it because I didn't have money on it.
It was 4... I hadn't bought the tickets yet. It was 4 seconds left. Here you got Kawhi. Kawhi gets the pass the ball to Kawhi. Kawhi takes it around the top of the key, goes all the way around to his sweet spot, which he likes to shoot from the corner. But Embiid was on him, and there was another player that was on him. I can't remember who it was. He jumps up, puts his hand in the air, in front of him. Now, if you know how tall this guy is, he's much taller than Kawhi. So, like, he is literally, like, in his face, and he has to shoot over him. So much so that when he lands and then he kind of, like, scoots down because he's off center. Mm-hmm. The ball goes up in the air, and while it's in the air, it's already 0. So there is no tipping it in. There is no next play. This is game 7. This is it. And the ball comes, and it bounces on the outer part of the rim, not the inner part. See, if it bounced on the inner part of the rim, then everybody knows that it's a stronger possibility that it could go in because it could bounce up, go against the rim, whatever. But it bounces on the outer side of the rim, meaning that it's supposed to just bounce back to you.
I'm so bored right now.
No, this is key. This is key here. It bounces up, okay? Comes back down on that same side of the rim, bounces up again and goes to the other side. Bounces again, and then bounces a 4th time. Everybody is just waiting with anticipated breath. I mean, if you listen to all of the newscasters all around the world, the Chinese, ooh, or the Hispanic one is like,
I don't know, but please,
kawaii.
This is offensive.
No, it's not. It was like, I'm just trying to explain how all around the world, all around the world,
right.
Kawaii. Like everyone, it was inspirational. I feel that it was a shot that went around the world. It was a shot that was seen around the world, heard around the world.
Well, it was a lot more exciting than Game 6.
Listen,
Game 6.
It was the shot that united the world together.
Yeah.
Because by the time that we got down to the finals, everybody was going for the Raptors. I mean, everyone around the world. There was only like how many states that were going for, like California.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, Hawaii.
Nevada.
And Nevada. Like those 3 were the only states that were going for Golden State.
Based on that poll.
Well, based on that poll, but I mean, you know.
Anyway.
But it was an amazing.
Though, but see, that's the way I wish Game 6 ended.
Hold on. We can't go to Game 6 yet.
Oh my goodness! If you go through every game,
no. I'm talking about Milwaukee. See, everybody was talking about the Greek god. I mean, he's just like, ooh, this dude is sweet. It's tight.
Mirthell, if you go through every single game.
No, I'm not going through every single game. I'm just
walk
saying.
Out right now.
No, I'm just saying.
You can call me when you're done.
No. Listen. This is important because they were down by 2. There is hardly any teams that are down by 2 in a situation like this that comes back. They came back and won 4 in a row and had the momentum. Okay, had the momentum, so that by the time I knew they were going to take Game 1 because here. Golden State is cold. They're like sitting at home watching the game, watching the Raptors, getting inspired. But they came hot, so they just took Game 1. Went ahead.
You are going to take the game.
No. They weren't able to take Game 2, but really they should have taken Game 2. Anyhow, this is when I discovered after Game 4, that's when I discovered that something was terribly wrong. After Game 4, I realized that something was terribly wrong. Why are you shaking your head?
Because I know where you're going. Don't say that.
Oh, about how it seems as though it was fixed?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. It just seemed terribly wrong. I mean, like, I love my Raptors, but it really did look fixed. Like after there's a few games that seemed as though it was really like a competition. They were really working hard. They were really playing. But at some given point in time, it almost seems, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but I know I've heard this before, but I haven't witnessed it for myself, that somehow somebody's making a decision as to who wins ultimately.
We don't know. But all I know is that after a couple of games, I thought when Steph Curry lost one game, he was all smiles. I'm like,
why is he smiling?
But either way,
when I felt
like the
Draymond
way that
Green wasn't playing like he was supposed to play, and they were just doing some things that just looked like they were giving away the game. Same with Steph, and it just, I don't know, it just seemed odd. like how it was. And I'm not talking about
all I know
all
is
the
that
games.
for Game 5, I wish that was the way Game 6 had ended, but for the Raptors, because the way Game 6 ended was kind of weird. It was like, yay, we won. Oh, wait, what? They're talking on the sides.
But how about
and then they had to like...
Same with Game 6.
That was Game 6, I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you said Game 5.
No, I said I wish Game 6 had ended the way Game 5 was.
Then we'd have lost.
No, but I said for the Raptors, though.
Oh, for the Raptors.
The nail biter, the 1 point. You know, it was right. It would have been awesome. But the way Game 6 ended...
Anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was anticlimactic. It was like, yay, score. Wait.
Okay, Kawhi, come here and take a foul shot
Yeah,
when the clock is at 0.
It didn't even matter. It was really...
Now it's Game 6. And so we ended up actually... we ended up getting a hotel room downtown because we wanted to be there.
That's renting.
So I feel like it was a little bit better, because if they had won Game 5, we would have been at my mom's house all the way in Brampton, which is kind of like, it's in Toronto, but it's like on the outskirts. And if they had won, we probably wouldn't have gone downtown, because there's so many people that were on the street. Right. So Game 6, what we ended up doing is we ended up getting a hotel. We ended up getting the presidential suite. We invited a whole bunch of our friends, because there was a wedding that I actually came out to perform in Toronto with one of my friends. So I invited like some of the guys to come over and watch a game, and then a few of our other friends and families. And there was some fans that wanted to see the kids. And so some of the ones that we knew the family, we invited them to come as well. So we were in the suite. We were right down smack in downtown. Nathan Phillips Square. We could see it from our hotel room. It was a huge suite. And we ordered food, we ordered roti, we ordered pizza, we ordered everything, all our favorites. And we just waited for the win. When they won, we went outside. It was crazy. We had a patio. We were on the 16th floor, and we had a patio. And even though we were there, it was like a street over where they were gathering. Right. So
we couldn't even see it necessarily where they were gathering, but we could hear it. And it just like... Every minute by minute, it just got louder and louder, and so then you heard. I say that we got down there maybe 10 minutes after the game had done, 10-15 minutes. Fireworks, helicopters. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy, but it's such a wonderful.
So we have some footage, and we're gonna show this footage so that you guys are able to see some of the things from our perspective.
Oh yeah!
Good time. Everybody was down there.
Yeah. I felt good. It was really nice for Toronto. I was glad we weren't going to have to go to Game 7. But other than that, I was really happy. It seemed like this was something that united Canada, actually.
It really did.
So, but we weren't able to stay for the parade, because that was Monday, and that's the day we flew out back to LA.
Right. But it was an awesome time. Great to bring the trophy back to Canada, where basketball first was created.
Nobody cares.
And and you know, the first game ever, NBA game ever played, was actually in Toronto. So this is a wonderful circle sort of kind of event where it comes full circle back home to the T-dot, the 6.
Okay.
And
all right, that was enough basketball. I think I've had enough basketball over the last month. I think I could go probably 10 years without a game. But if I have to choose a team, I'm going to choose Lakers. I haven't seen a Lakers game since that day. We went to the one game.
Okay, it's so sad. Lakers is so sad.
No. You know what? We're done with basketball right now. Okay.
Well, if you're going to talk about Lakers, I'm going to talk about how sad it is.
Anyway, moving on. At the cookout.
So this is the section where we talk about what's happening in our community. What's happening with us black folk.
There was a woman we met, was it a year or 2 ago? Can't remember. We met her in 2018, I think.
No, I think it was more 2017.
No.
Either 2017 or 2018.
Yeah, but I think it was more 2018.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it might have been 2018.
It might have been.
Early 2018, maybe.
Early 2018 or late 2017.
Right.
Anyway, so we met her, and she was nice. She was looking for someone to replace someone in her music group. She manages her daughter's music group, and there were 3 people, and she was looking to replace the third.
Sinead,
so
everybody knows that Sinead is
right.
She's
so she
really
reached
into
out
music.
to us because she had seen Sinead's Instagram and wanted to know if we would come out to actually.
Or they were going to come to us.
She was going to actually come to us.
Right.
We said, hey, we'll come to you because we hadn't been to Memphis, and she's from Memphis, and I could say that because that's public now.
Right.
So
and Sinead was going to try out for this group.
Right.
She was interested. I don't know if she was going to try out, but she definitely was just interested in hearing what they were about.
Right.
That's more about it. Like,
you mean Sinead was?
Sinead was because Sinead was sort of like, Sinead has her thing going. She was doing her covers. She's doing her own writing of music. She's really a soloist. But like, of course, somebody reaches out to you and says, "I saw you singing." Right. And they have a group. She wanted to at least check them out. So we were very supportive.
Went over there. And we met them. Wonderful family. The husband is an ER doctor.
Great guy.
They had a couple of YouTube channels.
I think the son was a fan. I think he used to watch.
Yeah.
He used to watch Shiloh. I think.
And it was a beautiful family. But ultimately, we knew that it was probably not going to be a good fit. We had a lot of stuff going on our end with our brand,
right.
And they are really focused on music,
right.
And her daughter's group. Now, fast forward to so what they were doing.
Well, not really, because we should at least say that when we got there, we were able to see them. We got to meet them, and it ended up being a conversation not just about the group, but sort of like what we do. Which is like YouTube, and we're encouraging them. Like they're so talented, and they had such a great presence. Like they have such a great TV presence.
And when the mom,
the whole family,
the one who had reached out to us, when she sang for us, I was like,
whoa, like her voice is so powerful.
This was one of the most powerful voices I've ever heard.
Right.
And I mean, she was like, oh, I could teach anybody to sing like that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So we thought, oh, this might be a good fit for them. And so we started kind of like telling them about YouTube and telling them, about channels and how to get it up and everything. And we're really looking forward to seeing what they could potentially do in that. Well, we hadn't heard from them in a while.
And we saw that they were doing YouTube for a while, but then they stopped. So I was like, oh, I wonder what's, I guess maybe they got discouraged. YouTube is hard right now.
Yeah.
But what happened was they actually were filming. So I don't know if any of you all have seen it because it debuted on, when did it debut? I think it debuted on the 6th.
Right.
And it's called...
We were so happy to hear that they got their own show. And it's not on YouTube. It's actually on network, Lifetime Network.
And it's called Misty's Music Factory. And her name is Tamora. And it follows her and her... there's actually 2 like plots. One of them is her music academy called Aeromet, which is basically Tamora backward.
Okay.
Aeromet Academy. And she just trains young people on how to sing, proper body stance, how to, carry a tune. I mean, it's really detailed. She knows what she's doing.
Right.
She has a good ear, and obviously she's a wonderful singer. She actually came out with another single as well.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And it was a really good song. Yes, I did. I played it for you on the cruise. But you probably that song.
Okay. I didn't know that was hers. Yeah.
And
then
the
another
other plot is how the stuff
how she manages
her daughter's group.
Right. And her daughter's group
they're called Karma.
Right. They have a really hot single. I really like that single, and she kind of reminds me of Beyonce. She has like that Beyonce kind of flair. Misha?
Yeah, her
daughter.
She
has that Beyonce kind of flair and things to them, and they're really good group.
When I was looking at the trailer for it, and then when I saw the actual episodes, I'm like, she's made for this. Right. She's made for. She has such presence. Their whole family has a lot of presence.
Because even their son, when he has a lot of energy. When he had his YouTube thing, like they were really good. Like they're tight in everything they do, very professional in everything they do. The father is a medical doctor, and he kind of like
he's an ER doctor.
He's an ER doctor, but like clearly he's involved, fully involved in his family.
They're very driven. They're a very ambitious, driven family.
And just because like you'd think he's a doctor, so he's gonna be off just doing doctoring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's there with his son. He's there with his daughter. He's there with his wife. Like
and he's like, not just like like at your local ER. He works for a group that it takes him all over a few states.
Right.
So he's really busy. So when you see him like active on this son's channel, it was like, whoa, he's very dedicated. But we just wanted to talk about it because, number one, it's an interesting show. It's fun to watch. It takes place in Memphis, which is huge for music. And you just get to see this family and how they manage their music label and their brand. Right. And we really want to just like shout it out. Like,
definitely want to shout it out.
Appreciate the fact that she's doing big things.
Right.
And I think,
and it's entertaining. I mean, it is hilarious. She's funny. She's funny, and it's like there's drama, you know, between the parents, and there's drama in the show. So you got to really catch this show. It's called
Misty's Music Factory, and it's on Lifetime, and it comes on at 10 Eastern.
So if you have time, you know,
and
you better catch this.
And the thing is, we're not being paid to say this. We're not.
No, not at all.
We're not. This is just like it was so ironic for us that we had just met her
a year before,
not too long ago, and then now we see her in this, and it's powerful to see how God moves because. I think this is what they have been working towards, and I'm excited to see. A lot of people are like, "Oh, she's like Abby Lee from Dance Moms for music." So it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes. I'll be watching every episode because I just really enjoy it.
Right, definitely cool.
Now,
so that's what's happening at the cookout.
So now let's get into the flying.
Right. So our Onyx Life section is about what's been happening with us, and so we told you kind of like what our plans were. This is going to be a combination
of Onyx Life and Onyx Inspiration, honestly.
Right, because I mean, I really would hope that this is going to be inspirational for those people that have fear.
Right. So as I've talked so many times about.
So first of all, Rita did not want to celebrate her 40th going any of these places. Okay,
no,
she would much rather sit at home, and there's somebody that can identify with her. She'd rather sit at home. And
or
just
drive somewhere.
Twiddle her thumbs.
That's not true.
Then go on the plane. You were like,
if it was that between going on a plane, maybe. But I would have driven somewhere, or I would have been like, oh, see, this is the thing. We had just taken a 2-week cruise, not too long ago, to Hawaii. Now I had been to Hawaii several times when I used to fly, but this time because I was like, oh, I don't want to fly, I took the cruise, which I'll never do again because the cruise is way too long, and you're only on each island for one day, and then you just feel rushed, and I wouldn't do it again. But I had considered that, well, maybe that's my 40th. But it was more around Mother's Day. So I was like, I wasn't going to do anything else. I was going to a Mother's Day /40th.
Right.
But when we had the opportunity, when I know everybody wanted to go to Toronto, Mirthell convinced me, like, come on, let's do something. You don't want to look back and regret it.
It's your 40th. You only do it once.
Right. So I was like, okay. So, I booked the tickets. And at last minute, I booked the plane tickets because I'm dreading it. Now, I know that I had already taken a flight, actually, from LA to Nashville and, to the south. And I had already done that. We don't live in Nashville, but we flew in there.
Right.
So, anyway, I had already taken now 2 flights. And so I thought, well, I took 2 flights. It wasn't so bad. It was actually pretty good. It was on 737, so it was like 3 and 3, and it was pretty good. But I don't know, something inside of me started dreading again flying. So I waited last minute before I purchased the tickets from LA to JFK. Now I was really sweating because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going from one coast to the other. This is like clear across the country. It's going to be some super long flight, and I just started getting really nervous. And so in order to prepare me for flying, I was doing this course called SOAR, SOAR. I think it's an acronym for something.
And you have like a coach where it's like a pilot who kind of has worked with a lot of people. He does a lot of...
Not kind of. He works with a lot of people.
And he does psychological work where he deals with the psyche of flying, the psyche of fear.
It's called fearoflying.com, and it's SOAR, and it's Captain Tom Bunn.
And he also deals with the mechanics of a plane, the mechanics of flying, just the whole procedure from the start to the finish. And
right. So what's what I had been doing? I had been watching the video. So I had purchased the class actually a few years ago, but I had not really dug into it.
Right.
And I decided, like, you know what? If I'm really serious about this, because I have it in my vision book to overcome fear of flying, I said, I really got to take this seriously. So I went and I started doing the courses. I found the DVDs that I purchased. He has it online too, so that you can actually just download it online.
Right.
But I did the DVDs because I think I can't remember exactly why. I just decided I was going to purchase that. So I was doing this exercises. I was watching everything that he explains. The great thing about this course is that he explains everything. He explains the stress hormones that are released. He explains the mechanics of a plane and the mechanics of flight and all of these different things that come together to make you feel like, wow, this is really something that is safe. Now, everything comes with risk. So nothing is 100%. Every time I get in a car, every time we get on even a ship, every time, everyone likes to say, oh, you could even fall out of your bed. But guess what, people? I read a book of a woman who actually fell out of her bed.
I remember when you told me that
story. She
story.
didn't even know how she fell out of her bed.
She was sleeping. Paraplegic.
She was sleeping. Why you gotta, I was about to say it and you had to
oh, sorry.
Jump in. Anyway, so he ruined the climax. Anyway, so she was sleeping. She just somehow woke up and she was on the floor.
Right.
And it was a very awkward position. And yes, she's a paraplegic.
Shocking. She's a paraplegic.
Anyway, so basically, they're right. Yes, it can happen, but it's rare. I mean, come on. That's not going to happen to a lot of people.
Right, but that's what people think when they're flying. Like, the statistics say that it's super rare for a flight to go down compared to driving or any other form of, traveling. Right. Yet, it happens to somebody. And every single one of the people that have this super fear of flying believes that they're going to be that one.
It's going to be us. So basically, anyways, like I said, I was doing the course, but I also went into YouTube and I was looking at a combination of different types of flying videos. I would watch people who said, I got over my fear of flying, and then I would also watch people who love to fly. So I actually have been getting into this genre of people who love to fly and they review different airlines, different planes, and they go on these trips. And what I loved about that is that I'm watching people choose to do this and love it.
Right.
They're not doing it for money.
And here's
they're doing it just for the joy of being in the air.
Here's the thing about Rita. The thing about Rita is that not only is she very fearful of flying while she's flying in the air, and it's extremely uncomfortable for her, and every time that there is a bump, and every time that there's a noise, and every time that there's a clank, or anytime,
even when it's quiet,
or even when it's quiet,
oh, it's too quiet.
It's too quiet. Why is it so quiet? So I mean, literally. But not only that, but the anticipation of going on the trip. The moment that she knows she's going on the trip, and the moment that she buys the ticket, she is fearing every moment right up until the trip. Then she's fearing on the trip.
The return.
Then she's fearing on the return flight. So she can't even enjoy fully where she's at or where she's going because it's all full of fear.
Truth be told, this whole trip to New York and Bermuda, I was thinking about the flight. As soon as I landed, I maybe had 10 minutes of euphoria, yes, I did it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I have to do it again. And the thing is, the whole trip challenged me a lot. Claustrophobia with all the elevators and the skyscrapers, and then the flying, and like I said, I don't mind cars. I don't mind tunnels. None of that stuff bothers me. It's
all really the stuff that we should really be scared of.
It's really just the elevators and the flying. But on our way there, it was a wonderful, smooth flight. I decided, because it was my birthday, to do first class there and back, and we loved it.
Oh yeah.
It was nice, and what I discovered is it's so much quieter in first class.
Goodness. Oh my you don't hear the airplane as much.
It is so much quieter. So on the way there, I decided I was going to walk over, see how my kids are doing, because they were in economy. Don't judge me. They don't need to be in first class. They don't need it. So we were, I walked back to economy, and I mean, it's like, as soon as I leave first class, it was like the engine noise was times 10. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't.
Something wrong with the plane?
Yeah, because when we flew down to Nashville, I just remember thinking, why is this so loud? Now, I actually had gotten seats right by the wing, because they were like, that's where the most stable is. Yeah, but nobody tells you that's where the loudest part of the engine is. It was so loud. Wow. And I was thinking to myself, I don't remember planes being this loud. So after that experience, I was expecting that kind of loudness. But when we were in first class, I didn't hear it. But when I went to go see the kids, I was hearing it. And I was like, oh, I can't believe it. Anyway, I go back there. And of course, they're knocked out. They don't have any fear of flying.
No fear.
Thank God. But anyway,
they love flying. They're like, Mom, I don't ever want to do a road trip.
Yeah, they don't want to do any road trip. We had an event in Palm Springs, and they were like, And even when we were in New York, when we drove in from New York City to Toronto, they were over it. They were over
you know what?
Already.
There is somebody on this line that's listening, listening to our podcast or watching us on YouTube, and they are petrified of flying, and they're wondering exactly what it is. And we are just talking, and they're like, why do you keep on talking? I want to hear what you do. Because I've heard Rita say that. Like, we've turned to podcasts and we'll be like listening. They won't get to the point. And they are. Rita will be so mad. She's like, tell me how I can overcome this fear. Tell me now. And then she'll just turn it off because she's like, why are they just cute? So here we go. Give me like the top 5 or 10 things.
I'm just going to give you the top things.
Give us the top things that once you heard it was like, ooh, that's good information. Or
wonderful. Okay, let me just get into that. Okay, and these are not in order of importance.
No, just what's coming to your head.
These are so this is from the course.
Yeah.
And not just the course. These are also videos I found on YouTube with other people talking. This guy named Les Posen or something. I can't remember his name. Anyway.
It could be facts, it could be statistics, it could be just something.
The statistics, like everyone knows the statistics, right?
Not everybody, so don't feel like you can't say them.
Okay, so apparently, and this is the thing, I've read 7 million, 9 million, and now 11 million. But apparently, only like you'll have a chance of 1 in 11 million of dying from a plane crash.
In a year?
In your lifetime.
In your lifetime, okay.
And I heard another statistic that said you would have to take, first I heard 50,000, then I heard 23,000. I think it's more 23,000. You would have to fly on a flight your whole entire life or 23,000 times before you would most likely get into a plane crash. Something like that. That's what it was saying. So the statistics are great. But the statistics don't go so far with me because I'm not necessarily concerned about a crash. I mean, I am, but then I'm not. It's like when you get into a car, you know you can, but you don't really. The point is that if every car trip I went in, I was scared we were going to like fling off the side of the road, or I was going to have to feel a sensation of falling or feel this. The fear is also just, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to feel the things that make me feel fearful, which is like the falling sensation.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it's all semantics. At the end of the day, it's fearful that something is going to go terribly wrong, and that you're going to die.
But it's not rational though, because the rational part of you knows that the statistics don't support it. But then of course you do see the things in the news. But then also it's like for example, when I'm in an elevator, I know that most likely this elevator is not going to fall, but I don't even want to feel that trapped feeling. So anyway, back to the flying. So the statistics, yes, they do help. Another thing that I found really helpful was that when you think about air, when you put your hand out the window when you're driving, and you feel the resistance to your hair. I said it has more of the consistency like water, and when you put your hand in water, obviously you can just move it about and slower because there's resistance, but you can still move it about. So then they said. During takeoff, the air now turns into a consistency more like molasses. No, it's not like literal liquid, but it has that consistency that is more like with the resistance of molasses. And that when you're up in the air, you're cruising at your highest speed, the air has a consistency like Jello.
So just imagine a well-set Jello, and you put
and the plane is in the middle.
And you put a pineapple in it.
But instead of the pineapple, it's now a plane.
It's now a plane, exactly.
And so
you don't see that
the pineapple is not just going to drop to the bottom.
No, it's stuck there unless you stick your spoon in and start mixing it all up.
And so they said now the engines would be as if you stuck in 2 like shish kebabs and moved that plane forward through the Jello. And just like Jello, our atmosphere is like, what did they say? Like 12 miles, I think. So the plane is usually like around 6 miles. It's in the middle. So you have Jello on top, Jello on the bottom. And your plane is not just going to be like dropping.
It's just going to drop, right.
Another thing that helped me.
And so when you put your hand out the window and your hand is going like this, the faster you go, you can just feel the resistance. That your hand doesn't easily just go down.
No, it doesn't. As long as that plane or your hand is moving fast, it's not going to go down.
Right.
So let's just say, what if the plane slows down? What if it loses the engines? Well, another thing that made me feel better was the reliability of engines. Engines are so reliable. They can literally handle millions and millions and millions of miles before there's a problem. They're also inspected every single flight.
Right.
You know, so they're looking for cracks. They're inspected more than you inspect your car.
Right.
They're inspected, they're looked at, and even if, let's say, an engine fails, your plane can readjust its altitude and fly on that one engine to look for a safe place to land. And the only reason why they will not continue on that trip, because it could easily continue with that one engine, is that they want to make it safe for everyone, so that, because everything, when you think of a plane, you also have to think that it's not just one plane.
Right.
You always have to think there's like two planes into one. No, it's two planes into one, because every system has a backup. And almost every backup has a backup. And then even that backup usually has a backup. And then sometimes even that backup has a backup. So when an engine fails, they are not saying, oh my goodness, we can't continue. What they could do is continue, but what they want to do is they want to land soon, just so that they could get back on a plane that has the backup. Right. Because you always want a backup. You're obviously 30-something thousand feet in there, you want a backup.
So there was this story that you told me that I found fascinating, where something happened that was really, really bad, and they thought they were preparing to die.
Oh, it was a video I saw where there was a plane that was flying and didn't know that there was ash in the air still, because you can't see it, but it was microscopic. But it clogged the plane's engines, stuck to it, and it stopped working. Right. And so the plane, they were gliding. Now, and that's another thing. A plane can glide at least speed, like 100 miles. So the plane can actually glide for 100 miles in any direction. Well, not any direction. Well, the direction it's supposed to be going. Right. And even if both engines failed. And what happened with that was that when the pilots they glided down and they were looking for an airport. This is the thing. They were over water, and they were kind of far from the next airport.
So they were preparing to die. Or to do a water landing at least. Water landing in the ocean is like in the harbor in New York.
In Hudson. No. Yeah. So anyway, as they got lower, what happened was the ash actually like clumped up and then just fell off. And they didn't know that, and the engines restarted, and they were able to like go back up, but then got more ash, because they didn't know until after what was the problem, and then they were able to land, and everything was fine.
But the engines the ash falling off and the engines restarting and going back up to the altitude and brought them closer to an airport. Right. So that instead of now definitely crashing, they're close enough to glide. Yep. So when they went back down after the ash built back up again, and they went back down, they just glided basically to an airport, and that's when they discovered. But it's amazing that, there's all these mechanisms.
The engines are reliable.
Right.
Exactly. And it restarted as soon as it got the stuff off, and that is very rare. Usually if there's ash, they tell people, just avoid that airspace. So that was another thing that made me feel comfortable. And again, like I had mentioned, all airplanes have a backup. Is going fast. There's the speed over the wings is a little bit slower than the speed that's under the wings, or it might be vice versa. But whatever it is, it creates a low pressure, which actually sucks the plane up. Mm. So there's not only the plane being like buoyed by the air that's like jello, but also the plane is actually literally, because of the shape of the wing, being sucked up.
Oh, okay.
So again, you don't have to sit there and think, the plane is it's just something under it is pushing it up. No, it's like literally, because it is called Bernoulli's theorem. It literally is being sucked up and in there like suction. So
science is behind this, definitely.
Right. And okay, so there's another thing about turbulence and air pockets. So turbulence, this is the mantra that every fear of flying course says. Turbulence is uncomfortable, but not unsafe.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So why does it say it's uncomfortable? Because I've seen turbulence where the plane is shaking and
we just saw one yesterday where a woman. It was a flight from Kosovo to Switzerland, and the flight attendant went crashing into the ceiling.
Right, like turbulence. Yeah. Turbulence. It looks like it's unsafe to me.
So one of the things you have to think about with turbulence is that there's a couple of things. One. Air is like the ocean or like the rapids. There's parts of it where it's going to be like the ocean and parts of it where it's going to be like rapids, where it's swirling. So if you were going down a raft, you would have areas where you're just floating on by, but there might be times where, it could be water that's coming from different sources that's coming together, or it could just be an area where it's just rougher, and you would just kind of swirl about, but you would go and you would keep going. Mm-hmm. Now, would that water necessarily damage the boat you're on? No,
not really.
It's just rough.
But when the water is rough and it peaks and it has these peaks, you're on a raft or you're on a boat. It can go boom,
it goes up
boom,
and then it goes down.
Boom, and it keeps every time it goes down.
But it's not just up and down. There's side to side.
Right.
Because that's what happens with air, especially when there's an area of air that's faster moving that meets a slow moving part of air.
Right. So that's where
the turbulence usually comes from. But there's also turbulence that comes from the air being heated, like if you're flying over like really hot places and it's really hot. There's turbulence from air that's going over mountains and skyscrapers that go up, and so then there's more turbulence. So turbulence is caused by a bunch of different things. Right. But the important thing is that it is uncomfortable but not unsafe. Now, I watched actually last night a video of a plane that was coming out from Japan that had one of the worst turbulence I've ever seen recorded. And it was because there was a winter storm brewing. Now, they had 4 pilots who were in the front. They never said anything to the passengers, and everyone thought it was because they were all sitting there trying to really just handle what was going on.
Right.
And it does not mean that, I don't believe it, that turbulence could never bring down. But what I do say is this, and this is something that I can't remember what I was reading. It was an article, because guys, I've scoured the internet. I've been looking at every video, and not just my SOAR class, in order to try to get over this thing. But was also that, think about people who go and study the hurricanes and go to the eye. They're not in special design planes. They're there, with the radar stuff in it, but they're taking regular planes and they're going in turbulence that is just horrible, because the closer you get to the eye, the higher the wind speed is in a hurricane. So think about it. If those planes can withstand that, you can usually withstand, like a huge, massive plane can really withstand even severe turbulence. And one thing the pilot told me, the captain, Captain Tom Bunn told me, and other people actually from other books, is that you won't even get that severe turbulence usually in a pilot's career. Or if you do, it might be just like once.
Right.
So it's mostly not that, because those areas that cause those severe turbulence episodes usually are avoided, which would be like thunderstorm clouds, because thunderstorm clouds can go all the way up to 60,000 feet in the air. Right. So you really can't just fly through a thunderstorm, because that is where the air is the most turbulent. You'll have severe updrafts and downdrafts, and those things can really damage a plane. Right. It could bring it down because it's slowing down the speed.
Right.
But again, they're trained to go around it. Now, that plane from Japan, they, I don't think that they thought that the wind was going to necessarily affect them. Because remember, they can only predict turbulence based off of what they see and then reports from other pilots.
Right.
And so sometimes it's surprising. So when they got in there, they were able to land safely. Again, it was uncomfortable and it was scary, but they were able to be safe.
Well, one of the things that I heard, and you shared this with me, that made me understand the whole concept of uncomfortable but not unsafe, is like if you're driving a car and then you hit like a speed bump.
Oh yeah, so I want to get into that.
Okay.
So basically, now think about all of that swirling air. Think about a plastic bag floating in that air, or a balloon, like a hot air balloon. Mm-hmm. You are just going to like float up. You might float down. You might go to the side. And it's very gentle. Right. The reason why you feel the jolt on the plane is because you are going so fast.
Right.
So again, if you're in a car and you're going over a speed bump, you go
fast. If you go slow, super slow,
you're going to be like, oh, this is a gentle little bump.
Oh, nice.
But if you're going like 100 miles per hour, it's going to be like boom, and it's going to feel that way. Well, that's what happens when you're on a plane.
It's basically, planes are just these things are just basically speed bumps.
Right.
That they're going over. And
right. Now, if you're in like tsunami wind, obviously it's going to be pretty violent wind. Mm-hmm. But most of the turbulence that you feel is not really violent. Even if you see a plastic bag in the most violent wind, you're still going to just see it kind of waving around. Think about a hurricane when it comes in, and you see a plastic bag floating in 100 miles. It still doesn't look like it's being banged up. It's just flowing with the wind.
Right.
Well, an airplane is designed to flow with the wind, but because it is going fast, it's going to feel like a jolt. Another thing about air pockets is that a lot of people are led to believe that air pockets are areas of the atmosphere where there's no air and you just drop. That's impossible.
Right.
That does not happen. Again, remember the jello. Okay? So you're going through. As a plane travels, even if you don't feel like it, it's going by like 500 miles per hour.
Right.
So even if you feel, because of air pushing on the plane, even if you feel it drop, you're not like going and then dropping. Like you're not going and then stopping and then dropping. Right. You're not doing that. You're still moving forward. So it's more like this. And if you aren't watching, you're listening, I'm just saying that you're still moving forward as you're dropping. It would be like you're going on a road and there's a dip, but you're still going forward. You don't stop in that dip, go down, and then go on. You just keep moving as you're driving. So that's another thing about air pockets. So there's the whole concept of an air pocket is a bizarre term because that's not what happens.
Right, gotcha.
And also think about it when you're in the jello. If you press on the jello from the top, it's going to have reverberations. I can't even say the
vibrations.
Reverbate. It's going to reverbate.
Oh, reverbate. Okay.
Down to the plane.
Reverbations.
Yes. Anyway, and it's going to shake the plane.
Okay.
Simply because of the
pressure
you're pressing down.
Right.
So those are a lot of things that actually help me feel a lot better.
But at the end of the day, the type of fear that you have, and a lot of people have it, is that even all of that information still, it does not take away the type of fear you have. All it does is it gave you enough reason to get in the plane and continue to fly, because what you're trying to get at is you're trying to create new grooves in your brain that it becomes a very positive habitual thought and habitual patterns so that it becomes normal for you, because you're creating new normals. That's what you're doing, because that information, when you told me that information, when I heard that information, I had fear of flying. It was a very natural fear of flying that was not like extreme. It was just kind of like, you know, I'd rather not be up in the air. But the moment that I heard all that information, I literally have no fear of flying. Like I mean, I just go in there now and I'm just like, cool, chill. But because your fear of flying, how it impacted you was it gave you good information so that you know that the fear that you have is irrational. And it's not based on facts. It's actually just based on something else going on.
I had spent 20 years of not flying. 20 long years, people. That's a very deep groove in the brain.
Of rehearsing.
Of saying flying is insane.
Is dangerous, right.
Yeah, flying is scary. And so, I have a lot more to go to unlearn this thought process.
But the good thing that I see happening to you now, and it's only been 2 flights, but I already see it.
No,
I already
4
witnessed.
flights.
4 flights, that's right, because you had to go and come, is that because you pushed yourself through, the only way to overcome that type of fear is to push yourself to actually do it. Because every time that you do it, I mean,
the reason why
the last flight we had, it had more turbulence than all the other ones, yet you were...
I was the calmest.
The calmest in this one.
And so, let me tell you why. Because what happens is there's a part of the brain called the amygdala, and it releases stress hormones. It says release these stress hormones, and usually you're releasing these stress hormones because you are unfamiliar with something. It's a very natural, normal process. Part of the reason why most people get over flying by flying more is because you have now become desensitized. Your brain does not release the stress hormones at every single sound because you're used to it. And so that's usually the real cure is keep flying.
Right.
Now, what those facts and information did for me was it helped get me on the plane. And I really do want to emphasize, when I would go on YouTube and watch people who had a joy of flying, that really helped me. I saw people who were just like, ooh, this is so exciting, and ooh, I'm going to try this out. And they try out every part of the cabin. It's not just first class. And they're like, oh, this is the kind of meal I got. This one guy took the longest flight. I can't even remember where it was, but they flew over the North Pole. And there were parts where there was a lot of turbulence, and he was like, it's like a roller coaster. It's great. And I'm like, wow.
I don't think he has the same kind of fear like you have. Like, that's
no,
probably like a
have
different
a fear at all. I'm saying these are people who love to fly.
Oh, love to fly. Oh, okay.
And so I'm saying, watching them, seeing how they have an excitement and enthusiasm for it actually helps.
Oh, okay.
So, and also what he did too was he was on this one flight that was 8 hours. For me, that's long. you know?
Right.
But he was like, oh my goodness, this flight is so short. I just want to enjoy it. Like, there's people like that. I
He's
love
like
it.
the yin to your yang, man.
Yeah, he is. And it really made me feel good because it made me go, there are people who choose to do this. They love to do this. And they consider it a privilege. And then there are, of course, then I thought about all the people who choose to do this for work, and they usually stay in it for long periods, like the captains and the
woman
and the
today,
flight attendant.
wasn't she 50 years?
We had a flight attendant coming from JFK to LA, and she had been, she said for 50 years she's been a flight attendant.
It's incredible. Oh my goodness.
It's just, it was.
She had to start when she was like 18.
Yeah, she didn't look that old. No,
right.
She didn't. But we also saw that that other video of that woman who had been a flight attendant for like 70-something years. So there are people who just, they love to do it. And it's funny because I had also watched a bunch of videos of flight attendants who had said, oh, I quit my job. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting for one of them to say, it was just too scary. But it was never about that. It was about like money and like they even put me in my city, and it was never about that. They complained about people who had a fear of flying, but they never had it.
So when you fly, I know this might be obvious, but still state the obvious. What is like some of the greatest benefits of the fact that you were flying versus driving? Because at any given point in time, I could say to you, Rita, do you want to just drive? Because I'll drive you. It's okay. We can drive across country, and you'll be like, yeah, let's do it. But then I see this transformation where you're like, nah, I don't want to do it. I really don't.
Because on the way back, guys, I was sweating so much about going back from JFK to LA. I was really, really hesitant. I don't know what it was, guys. I had been probably more nervous than even the first flight I took after the 20 years. For some reason, it peaked. It was almost like I was telling myself, I've had 3 good flights. I can't have a 4th one. Yeah. I can't have a 4th good flight. This is not going to happen
to me.
This is, So
it's impossible to have 4 good flights in a row.
Because I was also over all the skyscrapers, okay? I was over it. And so the night before our plane, I decided, you know what? We're going to rent a little hotel right next to JFK. And you know what? We're going to be on the 1st floor, okay?
Because I'm done with these elevators.
Take that.
And I am going to go on the 1st floor, and I'm going to drive home all the way to California.
Everybody, I'm going to drive, or I'm going to take the train. How about that? I'm just going to take the train.
And you
guys go ahead. Yeah. I know we have work commitments. I know we have furniture being delivered. I know, but so what? I don't want to.
So check out what happened to her first floor experience.
I'm an adult, and I have choices. That's what I always tell my brain. I'm an adult now. Anyway, so we get there, so when we walked to the room, I don't know if you noticed, but there were people who were kind of loud.
Context: Rita's been fighting me on every single penthouse, every single presidential suite, because they're always high. So now she gets her glorious 1st floor. Listen to this. And you know what's funny?
Even when we watched the game at the presidential suite in the Marriott, first of all, again, that was such a beautiful room, and the elevator was spacious. We went to the 16th floor, and I was like, oh, why did I fight this? What's wrong with me? Anyway, but I decided to kind of regress and go, you know what? No, I'm going to get 1st floor.
Right.
Anyway, when we were walking to a room, I don't know if you saw this, but there were some people like in their little cafe part.
Yeah.
And they were kind of loud. But I was like, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, whatever. Go to our room. Kids were in one room. We were in the other.
There were young people too.
And when I say kids, our children, like, they're older. Our oldest
is going to be
kids. The oldest is going to be 20, and then we have a 19.
So they're not really kids.
They're not really kids. They're 16, and then
they'll always be our kids. We'll be like 80.
Yeah.
Aren't the kids?
My kids. Anyway, so we're getting dressed, and I'm hearing some loud talking, and it's getting louder and louder, and then it's full on fighting.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sure someone's gonna say, hey guys, keep it down, or the hotel staff is gonna be like, you know what, get out. No, guys.
It went on
for hours. Mirthell fell asleep, and it was still going on.
I fall asleep to anything.
I think it went on to like 4-something in the morning.
Yeah, and Rita was up the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So I was fretting about the flight, and then on top of it, there was this fighting.
Right.
I mean, it was so loud. I think they were high or drunk. I do.
Yeah, they were probably.
I really do. And I saw someone had said to them earlier, "Please keep it down," and they did for like 5 minutes, and then they were right back to it.
Wow.
So that's what
I don't play that. Like, I'm the last person to open my door and go tell some ghetto people that they need to keep it down. Like, I will keep myself down. That's what I'll do. I'll keep my voice down.
Or I'll leave.
I'll leave. I'm not getting involved with people because people get arrogant, man.
Well, someone who is clearly under the influence, why would I now get between that? No.
Right.
I'm going to take myself out of the situation.
Right.
But anyways, guys, that's what I got for being on the first floor.
Right.
I get this total.
Which tells you that you can't be in control. Like,
no,
don't try to be in control of every single factor in your life. You have to get to the place where you just have faith that everything will work out. It is better to go into a situation and just have faith and just allow things to work itself out than try to control every element, or else you might make the bad decision.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because in the course, he talks about levels of stress. And he talks about that when you're actually, he'll ask someone he'll say, what was the most stressful situation or episode that you've ever had in your life? And I know for me, I knew for a fact that when I had Shiloh, it was going to be a very hard delivery. I knew I had complications and I almost died. But I knew that was actually coming.
Yeah, because they had diagnosed it. Right.
The doctors around me were like, I'm so sorry.
And you did almost die.
I did.
But yet you were the chillest and the most
relaxed. I was so calm. Right. I totally let go. I wasn't under anything. I had accepted from the moment I knew it was that complicated, which was for months. I was okay with it. I was okay.
So interesting. So there's another interesting thing. We're coming to a close, but there's another interesting thing. There was a lady that asked the coach, and I'm going to let you take over, and she says, she's from the South. It's like, is there a time when I need to worry? Like, you've been telling me all these things where I don't need to worry, but when should I start to worry?
Right. So I'm going to tie that into what we were talking about. Think of the worst or the time in your life where you've been the most stressed. Because usually, like if you had to take like a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being no stress, 10 being the absolute worst stress that you could ever think you could ever feel in your life.
Right.
Usually people will go to a 4. After 4, usually there's not really a stress response like that, because you know what happens? Your body goes into shock. You actually just shut that part down. It's the body's mechanism.
Wow.
So what happens for people though is when they're not actually in something stressful, that is when you actually go to a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's a false narrative of fear.
Right.
When you're not really in.
Right. That's when you go to those big numbers.
Right.
And so.
Isn't that funny? That's ironic.
It's funny. So when the captain is trying to tell us, like he's saying, there's 2 movies going on in someone who's afraid on a plane. There's the movie of what's actually happening.
Reality.
There's like, there's a ding. Someone says, what's that ding? Oh, okay, nothing. I'm just going to keep reading. But the person who's afraid, what's that ding? Oh my goodness, that's it. We're going down. And your movie went on a total tangent. And your stress level is at 10. So in the class, someone had said, when is the right time to worry? So the captain goes through it all. Well, let's go through takeoff. And he talks about the simplicity of the takeoff and, he's like, I can teach you to take off in 2 minutes. Obviously, he's not talking about the whole mechanics of flying.
Right.
But just the process of the
tilt so simple.
And getting to a certain speed.
Right.
Throttling, whatever.
And there is some automated things about the aircraft that just does it automatically. So it's
he says, like, if you get to this speed and it's still safe for takeoff, you'll keep going. If it's not, you'll just shut down at that point. You'll get to another speed. Is it still safe? If not, you'll shut down and you'll keep going. Then you get to another speed. Is it safe? Well, it may not be, but you know what? You're at a level where you can get up, go around, come down. So there's really nowhere to worry in the takeoff. What about cruise? Well, cruise, you have the least, that's the part where you have the least risk of actually having something happening. Most problems or crashes or whatever take place in takeoff and landing.
Right.
And so basically, cruise, well, so he was just saying,
you're in jello.
He's like, okay, remember, you're in jello. You have system after system after system of backup. You have, he's just going through all of it. So, okay, so probably not cruise is when you should worry. Landing, well, okay, autopilot usually, helps to basically land these planes. So even if it can't see, it's okay because the plane has a radar.
Right.
And if that fails, there's another autopilot that comes on. And if that fails, there's another one. And if that fails, there's still the manual. And basically, that's probably not the best time. So basically, there really is no rational time to worry.
Wow. So at the end of it all, that's the answer. There's no rational time to worry. It's the safest way to travel by far. Mm-hmm. And the only time that you should ever worry about flying is on your way to the airport driving there. Because that's where the statistics are the absolute worst.
Right. In the news recently, there was a family where the mother and the newborn, or they had a baby, and they went on a plane to a destination. They were returning back to their home. They were in Kentucky, and they were returning back to their home. I don't know if it was California. I can't remember where it was, but but the father and 3 of the other children were in the car.
They were driving back,
They were driving back.
And she flew.
Right. And the father got into a car accident, and the father and 2 of the children died. So when she landed, she had to get that news. And that also helped me see, like, this is not something I should be doing. I should not be going, oh, I'm going to drive, like,
long road trips.
Like, these road trips. I mean, unless it was something that we actually planned, like we wanted to go, stop, and see, and it wasn't out of fear.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't do road trips, but I'm saying don't do road trips out of fear. And so for me, after that night of being in that hotel with the first floor shenanigans, can you imagine? That would have just been one of the biggest signs as to why I should not drive from New York to California, because I feel like those shenanigans would have been times 100.
That's right.
During that road trip, just because I chose to do it out of fear. And guys, the flight back, it might have been really bumpy, but guys, the takeoff was so smooth. And even when it was bumpy, I was so grateful to be every step of the way, every bump. This is another person. She helped me, this woman named Mel Robbins. She has a video about fear flying, and she has these 5 tips. One of the tips was everything from the closing of the door, from the taxiing to the takeoff, to every bump you feel, everything is putting you closer and closer and closer to where you want to be.
And celebrate each one of those steps.
Exactly.
Right. So that's amazing, guys. And the takeaway, and I think that where we can kind of like conclude or summarize, is really don't allow fear to take over your life, whether it's in a plane, whether it's in relationally, whatever it is. We should not be doing things based off of fear. We should be truly attempting to make every decision in the most rational way. Eleanor Roosevelt said, so there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "You gain strength, courage, confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along." And so that's it's really important. I see you growing tremendously, hun. And I think that you facing your fear in flying is taking you to new levels in so many other areas of your life, including your business, including because what it says is that I will not allow anything to hinder my progress. I will not allow anything. And here's the sad thing. The sad thing is that you have this ear hostess who took 50 years. And she's been doing this for 50 years. So she probably is maybe either very close to 70 or well in her 70s. And her whole entire life, she's traveled the entire world. She's been able to do several things with her life because she just decided that she was going to live in this space. And she was not going to fear it. And she may not have an unnatural fear, but I'm just taking the analogy. And then you have another person, and let's just say this other person is you, and you decide, I am not going to face my fear, and I am not going to fly. Can you imagine 70 years of missing out on so many things that you cannot attend certain special events, cannot go and see certain parts of the world because you were unable to face your fear. And now you can actually say, that's not going to be me.
Right.
And that could be anything in your life. Anything in your life. If you allow fear to stop you from starting that YouTube channel, if you stop fear to stop you from getting married, if you have fear stop you from launching your own business, then you are actually going to lose out on something spectacular because you're allowing this thing to stop you. And the fear of the thing oftentimes is not real. Right. You're actually letting something that is not real stop you from doing something that is real. So I just want to encourage everyone, face your fear.
Absolutely. I think patient. My husband has been so patient. He told me, hey, if you want to drive home, I'll do it.
Right.
So it was really up to me. And now I'm just so grateful. And can I say that I don't have fear? Guys, I'm unlearning 20 years of the groove of it being fearful. Because remember, keep in mind, I went on a ton of flights.
Right. And
then I had that one flight from Europe where I was like, whoa, what happened? And then 20 years. And then I did fly after that. But then I did have like 20 years of not flying. And now I'm doing it. So do I love it? I love the result of it.
Yes. You love how you feel when you get over it.
every plane trip I tend to be more comfortable.
Right.
Does that solve it? For some people, it still doesn't solve it. But will I choose it now? Yes.
Nice.
You know? So, and that's where you want to be, because eventually I hope it's something that I have a genuine joy for.
Right.
You know?
So I would like to tell you, congratulations. You gave yourself the best gift for 40. After 40 years, because 20 years not flying,
right,
you gave yourself a wonderful 40th birthday gift, and that is face your fear so that you can overcome it, so that you can live the next 20 years like you never have before. Now it's time for you, in so many areas of your life, to soar to heights unknown.
Right.
Because you decided to face your fear. So, way to go to give yourself the best gift. And you can give yourself the best gift too. Some of the best gifts that we can give ourselves is to eliminate those things that become barriers in our life. We want to, in one of our podcasts, we're going to share with you some of the things that cause us to, what was that article called again?
Upper limiting.
Upper limiting. So one of our next podcasts is going to be talking about upper limiting. And that is where we tell ourselves these stories that hold ourselves back. And this is phenomenal. When we first heard about this upper limiting, we got so excited. And so we want to make sure that we're not upper limiting, and that we're giving ourselves good gifts that are going to allow us to reach any dream that, I believe I can fly.
Right. I just want to iTunes and
Spotify
Instagram. Or SoundCloud, wherever you are. So join us here. We really want to try and do now a weekly podcast again, because we've been on vacation and now we're back. And you can just find us on the Onyx Life, on onyxlife.com, and on Facebook, Instagram, and just on YouTube as well.
Right. So go live that Onyx life where change comes with challenge. See you next time.
Oh,